It was a cold, grey day in Manchester in the early 1960s, the kind where the sky hung low and heavy over the terraced houses, casting long shadows over cobblestone streets. England was still recovering from the scars of the Second World War. Industry was humming. The B-2s were just beginning to define a new cultural revolution. And yet, beneath this post-war optimism, darkness was waiting. It was in this city, in this decade of supposed hope, that two of Britain's most infamous murderers would meet, and together they would commit crimes so cruel, so calculating, that their names would forever be etched into the blackest pages of criminal history. Ian Brady was not the kind of man who inspired affection. Born in Glasgow in 1938 to an unmarried waitress, his childhood was marked by instability. Shuffled into foster care at a young age, he learned early on that the world could be cold and unforgiving. His intelligence was undeniable, but so was his disdain for authority. By his teenage years, he was dabbling in petty crime, burglary, and eventually landed in a borstal. What he carried with him wasn't just a criminal streak, but a growing obsession with power, control, and the works of sadistic philosophers and Nazi propaganda. He was fascinated by the idea of superiority, the belief that ordinary moral laws didn't apply to him. When Brady eventually moved to Manchester in the late 1950s, he found work as a clerk at a small chemical firm. And it was there, in 1961, that he met Myra Hindley. Myra was, on the surface, the opposite of Ian. Born in 1942 into a working-class family in Gorton, Manchester, she had been a shy, awkward child with striking platinum blonde hair and pale skin. Her father, a war veteran, was a strict disciplinarian who believed in solving problems with his fists. At school, she was average, neither exceptional nor troublesome, but she carried within her a desire to be loved, to belong to someone entirely. When she met Brady at the office, she was immediately drawn to him. There was something about his dark, brooding demeanor, his air of mystery, and the books he read, Nietzsche, Die Sade, Mein Kampf, that made him unlike any man she had known. She was intrigued, and when Brady noticed her interest, he began to draw her into his world. Their relationship was not the usual romance of young lovers. Brady didn't whisper sweet nothings, he tested her loyalty. He read her books about Nazi death camps, gave her films about cruelty, introduced her to his twisted views on society. Myra, desperate for his approval, absorbed it all. Soon, their conversations turned toward the idea of committing the perfect crime, one that would prove their superiority over ordinary people. Brady was the architect of the plan, but Myra was the willing accomplice. Together, they began to hunt for victims. The first known murder was in July 1963. 16-year-old Pauline Reade, a friend of Myra's younger sister, was lured into Hindley's car with the promise of helping her find a lost glove on the moors. Myra drove her to a remote area where Brady was waiting. Hours later, Pauline was dead, sexually assaulted and murdered. Her body would remain hidden for more than 2 decades. The murder was a rush for Brady and Hindley, a dark fulfillment of their fantasies, and it would not be their last. Over the next 2 years, they would kidnap, torture, and kill at least 4 more children: John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Lesley Ann Downey, and Edward Evans. Each time, the pattern was similar. Hindley would lure the victim, playing the part of the friendly woman offering a ride or help, while Brady would be waiting on the moors with his camera and sadistic intentions. They recorded some of their crimes on audio tape, a decision that would later horrify the nation. The tape of 10-year-old Lesley Ann Downey's final moments, her cries for her mother, would become one of the most disturbing pieces of evidence ever played in a British courtroom. The moors themselves became a silent witness to these atrocities. The wide, windswept expanses of Saddleworth Moor, with its deep peat and lonely hills, swallowed the victims whole. The landscape was beautiful in its own right. Vast skies, purple heather, rolling slopes, but to those who knew its secret, it was a place of unimaginable horror. Brady and Hindley often returned there, revisiting the graves, taking photographs, as if to relive the power they held over their victims. The murders might have continued had it not been for their final crime. In October 1965, Brady killed 17-year-old Edward Evans in the living room of the home he shared with Hindley. But this time, there was a witness: Myra's brother-in-law, David Smith. Smith had been invited over by Brady under the guise of a friendly drink, but what he saw instead was a brutal axe murder. Terrified but determined, Smith left the house and went straight to the police. The next morning, officers raided the property and found not just evidence of Evans' murder, but clues linking the couple to other missing children. The investigation quickly unraveled. Brady and Hindley's carefully crafted facade Police discovered photographs of the Moors, audio recordings, and items belonging to the victims. Hindley tried to present herself as an innocent bystander, manipulated by Brady, but the evidence told a different story. The trial in 1966 shocked Britain. Both were convicted: Brady of 3 murders, Hindley of 2, and sentenced to life imprisonment. The audio tape of Lesley Ann Downey's final moments left the courtroom in tears. The press labeled them the Moors murderers, and their names became synonymous with pure evil. But the story did not end with their imprisonment. For decades, Brady refused to reveal the location of Keith Bennett's body, tormenting his mother, Winnie Johnson, who died in 2012, never knowing where her son lay. Hindley, meanwhile, tried to rehabilitate her image in prison, seeking parole and claiming she had changed. Public opinion was unrelenting. She was the embodiment of betrayal, of a woman who had chosen cruelty over compassion. She died in 2002, still despised by the nation. Brady, confined to a psychiatric hospital, died in 2017, still unrepentant. The Moors murders remain one of Britain's darkest chapters, a reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, that a smiling woman and a polite man can harbor the worst of intentions. For the families of the victims, the Moors are no longer just hills and sky, they are graves, scars on the land that will never heal. Thank you for watching Crimes Through Time. If you found this story haunting, hit the like button and subscribe for more dark chapters from history. And tell us in the comments, do you believe Hindley was as evil as Brady, or was she his puppet? We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay safe,